Good evening, Maestro. How are you?
Good evening. I'm doing well.
Great, great. Thank you so much for making the time for us to go through this recording. As we have shared previously, this is not meant to be really a presentation for somebody to view and learn from it once. It's meant as an invitation to engage. It is meant to be paused, to take notes, to study, to review, because it's very dense. I was speaking with a PhD from USC in organizational design. I had lunch with her yesterday at the Cheesecake Factory at the Sherman Oaks Galleria, and she said some of my videos gave her a headache. So it's very dense, and I know it. So that's what this is. This is meant to be a time capsule with the basic reasoning and the logic as to why. If you're not speaking, can you go on mute? I hear some feedback on the phone. Maestro, please. So this is meant to be a time capsule for the information to be captured, to be reviewed, and to be used by different companies around the world, maybe by CEOs, by anybody in the company, by a frontline worker to the extent she or him could apply these principles. So that's the purpose for doing this recording. Is that clear, Maestro? Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. So why quality now? And the slogan or the marketing line is free process ninja skills. Basically, you can learn skills without paying money for it. Of course, time is money, but you don't have to go to a school and pay tuition and hire expensive teachers. So I refer to that as free skills, free process ninja skills. Process ninja is one of the four pillars of the art of execution. It is more than free money, greater than or equal to free money. That means it is more than free money. What does that mean? When somebody is more skillful, they feel more confident, there's more pride of workmanship, the quality goes up, the customers are happier, the stockholders are happier because the stock is going up, and there'll be less defects, less rework, the workers are happier. So besides the fact that you are making more money, you are advancing consciousness and reducing suffering. So the benefit is a lot more than just money. With that opening, on the cover page here, you can see the gentleman on the back of a buffalo on the top right-hand side corner of the screen. That person is Lao Tzu, and he is the person who wrote the Tao Te Ching. I'm trying to get the cursor to work. So there he is. So everything, all my work are based on principles and processes, and process aligned with principles. And that's what the Tao is, Tao, based on my understanding. All right, let me minimize this. Why leadership needs quality now, right? We are so busy, everybody's, really stretched thin, even though by 3, 4, 5 p.m. on a Friday, nobody's at work, depending on what company you are at. There's a great level of dysfunction, and people typically say, oh, it's nobody's fault, we grew too fast, or everybody is so busy. But if you really look at it closely, look at the culture, it's really not so. We may be busy doing other things, but we're not busy doing quality work. No offense. And when I'm speaking generically, right? We have 5 continents on Earth. We got thousands and thousands of companies. So if a company is doing extremely well, they can also go for the continuous improvement. So this is not only about problems. This is about creating a brighter future for everybody. Because Dr. Deming says the obligation of management is to generate work for the workers and quality for the customers. So that's why. And we have so many initiatives, and the turnover is so high. So this is not the time for quality. There's such change saturation. We've got so many different initiatives, so many major projects, so many different flavors of the month, and everybody is burned out, in despair, and resigned. And there's cynicism. Therefore, it's no time for quality now. Just let this boat sink. And the leaderships are busy, right? They have their own agenda, the margin of the company, the velocity turning over of the asset, how much has the stock price increased, all of those important things. Therefore, we have no time to do quality now, and pretty much let people who do the work do the work. Don't interfere with them, and let the teams focus on their key projects rather than distract them with these additional things. There just isn't time. We are too busy, and this is not the right time anyways. And cultural change of quality, that would take years, months, years, and maybe even decades. Quality initiatives, they will cost millions of dollars and lots of time spent. We cannot afford that. Not now, not ever. All right. There was I think she was almost like a queen in France. When people came to her and said, people have no bread to eat in the court, and her response was, let the poor eat cake. She was so disconnected from what was going on. Can you hear me clearly, Maestro?
Yes, very clearly.
Great, thank you so much. So she was so disconnected from what was going on, she made such a famous and ludicrous statement. So what's the answer to that? Management by walking around. Mibwa, that's been around for a long, long time, helps, but poor output required. So walking around is good, is great. We appreciate those people who do that. But you have to go a step further than that. It's called Gemba, the Japanese Gemba or Gemba. What is that? Basically, before we answer that question, would you ice skate on barefoot? Would you go without air, without breathing, without food, without water? You will not. So doing things properly, it is not something that you wait for the next opportunity. Doing things properly is something that we have to do immediately, because we continue to create defects and brokenness unless we begin to do it right now. And it's not to say we are seeking perfection, but we need to say, okay, before you ride your bicycle, before you drive your car, make sure you're not driving with the handbrake on. Make sure you are not texting while you are driving, right? And it's just not something that you should do. All right. So Gemba is to go to the real scene where the work actually takes place with the real thing and real facts. And you sit down with the people on production and you watch them work and you work with them and try your best to understand it. The founder of Honda, when he came back to Honda Motors 30 years afterwards, he looked at the turbo engine and all that. He goes, I don't understand this. And I shouldn't understand it because technology has changed so much. But nevertheless, that's Gemba. You are at this place where people actually do the work. If people are fumbling, people are using tools which are defective, error-prone. People are getting input which are half-cooked, unclear, filled with mistakes, defects, then you know you are in trouble. So we need to go to the place where wonderful work or horrible work are being done. And none of this is about judgment or criticizing people, because in the art of war, this is actually on the next slide. Sanzi says, the survival of a nation depends on warfare. Therefore, study warfare well. Very interesting thought. In peacetime, the survival of a company, of a family, depends on its production processes. Because if Toyota doesn't make good cars tomorrow, Toyota may go out of business like any other company. It could be iPhone, could be Apple, could be anybody. If your products suck, are defective, you can go out of business very quickly. Therefore, it is of the utmost importance to study the processes, right? And we'll see this on a subsequent slide. So the idea is, whenever whether you are a worker, a COO, CIO, or manager, or anybody, go as quickly as possible to look at the production process and look at the earlier steps. If you are making a house, a home, you want to look at the blueprint, right? And make sure the concrete and the civil engineering is done properly. Why that's the case? Because excellence depends on continuous improvements, and then you need to really look at the input and the processes. Why is that? If a manager focuses on the output, they are only looking at the history. They are not adding value. They are bystanders. They are spectators. Because by the time they see it, it's already history, it's already finished. some people say it's driving down the freeway looking into the rear view mirror. So the answer to that is you look at the input and you look at the processes, because input plus process creates the output. And process is where the rubber meets the road, and that's where Gemba comes in. It's a Japanese word. Go and take a look, go and see. And this is very foundational, very basic. I don't think anybody can really argue with it. And that's where the Tao comes in. These are universal principles, regardless whether you are making jet planes or making popsicles or lollipops. Therefore, the recommendation is to do whatever you can, scramble, stumble, swagger, to study the processes at the production site. That doesn't mean that, which is a misunderstanding by many people, they assign a few people to study and do process flow charts, do visual diagrams, to write bubble charts, to write out lists and numbers, and to document the steps for other teams, for other departments and other organizations within the company. That's not the point. That is like if you are trying to go to Hawaii and you will actually walk, you will never get there, because at some point you will be crossing the ocean. Because organizational initiatives, as we will see in some future slides, are cross-functional, and it's massive, right? Depends. Citigroup at one point had 320,000 people, and some of these things are so huge, they are done in multiple continents. The front-end computer could be in England, in Singapore, in South America, in where was it, Florida. So you cannot really have a few people try to map out the processes for the whole company. By the time you finish one or two, three groups, their processes have already changed, and the SMEs, the people who are actually doing the hands-on work, continually hit problems, and they continually adapt and evolve the process. So you are always out of date, and that's why the change initiatives, 75% of them fail, because of lack of clear and visible leadership support, and a lack of understanding of the fundamentals of process improvement. And I'm not trying to show off here. I've been at this for 30-some years, and in Citigroup, I was a certified Citibank quality trainer, went to New York and got certified and studied this. So anyways, I have some basic background, which I'm sharing here. All right, take a look at this. People say, right, the grid is designed for the baby to fall through. What does that mean? Let's say we are manufacturing bicycles. We have marketing manager, sales manager, controller, cashier, manufacturing manager, and then we have distribution manager. We are simplifying this. So in order for this bicycle to be made, you have to go all the way through and to be sold, right? Across the organization, the different groups, right? Maestro? Does that make sense? Okay, great. So as the product is going across function, we have cross-functional production processes here. And these people, they report, for example, the VP of production and the VP of finance, there can be purchasing or VP of engineering. They are peers, right? And peers have different priorities. They have different performance appraisals. They have different bonus goals. They have different pressures, they have different politics, they have different loyalties, they have so on. So, and they are like siblings, and what do siblings typically do? Siblings typically fight and argue and disagree. And that's why the product falls through the grid. The grid is designed for the baby to fall through, because the people who are actually on the production lines are peers. So if the VP of production disagrees with the VP of engineering, they can argue back and forth. There will be no decisive outcome. That's why they need to go to somebody who can impact their needs for promotion, needs for growth, needs for signification, needs for assignments, needs for projects, needs for budget. So invariably, they have to go up the chain of command, and they call this the vertical alignment, and these are the horizontal alignment. All right. So typically, after the Industrial Revolution, because of specialization, we have many different silos, and the different silos are run independently, even though they are supposed to cooperate. So the answer is they bring in project managers, but project managers have no power. They are coordinators. If you are a project manager in production, the project manager and the people in engineering really look at you like, shoot, fly. Why are you talking to me? Why do you keep on emailing me and bothering me? because I really don't answer to you and I got a lot of work to do. I got deadlines to meet and my manager is on my neck, so please get away from me. So there we have it. It's a fairly standard matrix organization when the chain of command is not actively engaged. I hope this makes sense. Did that make sense, Maestro?
Yes, I've actually seen that.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay. So the recommendation here is we're not talking about millions of dollars. We're not talking about 25 months. We're not talking about major cultural change. All we are saying is let's look at something basic, and you can go through these slides. And towards the end, I will go very, very quickly. Once again, it's not meant for me to elaborately talk out every single concept, every single detail. Nowadays, with YouTube and Google, you can get all the information. So I have included some foundational quality concepts and principles. And so all you need to do is somebody who is significant in the organization. Cannot be a project manager, right? Because a project manager, they go XYZ. People will say, who is XYZ? People can be in purchasing, in shipping, and so on. They just don't know who this XYZ person in engineering is doing and why they should follow his idea as to how things should be done, right? So that level of awareness and importance of quality and processes and defect reduction and cycle time reduction, that level of work has to be done by somebody everybody knows and everybody has to respect and don't want to be insubordinate against, whoever that person is. So I don't insist that it has to be the CEO, but the logic is you're going to go to somebody who actually is accountable for the collective output. All right, so let's go past. So those previous slides were really trying to convince the management, the leadership, the troops, or even anybody on the production line that quality is now. You want to breathe now. You want to eat now. You will not walk on ice. You will not walk on hard concrete from here to New York on barefoot. You will not do that. You will not even do that for 5 minutes. You shouldn't, in my opinion. So same thing with qualities. Some things are so basic, there's really no reason to wait. And we are looking for 25 minutes, 30 minutes, a nicely crafted set of slides by somebody whose name people recognize and respect and want to follow because they don't want to get fired, they want to get promotion, they want to get a good raise. Okay, let that person do the training. In Citigroup, at one point, Jiang Reed did a 2-day training workshop introducing Citibank quality. He was the chairman, he was the CEO at the time, and his videos were sent around 100 plus countries to 320,000 employees, and people like myself were sent from the local subsidiaries to New York to get certified so we could teach the same 2-day class that Jiang Reed first taught to the executives. So I'm not saying we should, follow what they did, but that methodology actually came from GE, came from Motorola, and people like Jack Welch, who started those kind of stuff. And Jack Welch, he's got lots of videos on YouTube, and he actually said he expects a future chairman, future CEO of GE to be a master black belt, a black belt in Six Sigma. Again, it's quality. All right, so much for the reasoning and the justification and why now for quality. Now let's look at some fundamental concepts. Processes are universal. Everything on Earth is dependent on everything else. I have water to drink because water came from the faucet. Water came from the faucet because they came through the pipe. It came through the pipe because it came through the dam. It came through the dam because it came through the river or came from the rainfall or the snowfall. So everything, it depends on everything else, and you can always look at the sequence of things. And therefore, everything is a process. There's nothing that you can point to in your room on Earth that is not related to a step in a process. So everything is a process. So whenever something is wrong, that pretty much means the process went wrong. And that also means you can revise the process to make it right. Hence, process is king. Process is important. The process I used to speak with my wife, with my parents, with my daughter, they all make a difference, right? Requirements is what we want. This should happen, that should happen. And then there are projects. So projects have requirements, and requirements are projects. And requirements are processes, and processes are also projects. So as you can see, these are basically human concepts that we use to describe various different things, which mean the same thing. So if you look at this picture here, look at all the bags on the table. Maybe these are boxes of shoes, and they are. Each one of those are involved with some kind of a production process, everything, including the lady's hair, how it was combed, how it was cut. So process is king, right? Process skills are life skills. Universally applicable, and they are crucial. So what's the point? The point is you cannot lose by studying processes. Even if you never work a day as a process improvement specialist, you don't want to go for your black belt, green belt, yellow belt, it's okay. You will benefit from having process skills. I pick up my daughter from school with her classmates, and I bring her or her classmate home, and we alternate with the other family, and the other family had a cow, and the girls, got into some little arguments about who is lagging behind holding up the trip home. And I say, okay, let's do a process. The process is when you get there, you text them, or 10 minutes before you get there, you text them. And so tell them, okay, come out at 3:15. Then you set up a process, then we don't have to fight. And it was kind of getting out of hand. People were getting excited, or who is bad, who is doing this. I said, okay, let's just come up with a process. It's very simple, but I'm also amazed that how sometimes we forget to look at processes, because processes is not personal. It's not so much Maestro is right, Ginny is wrong, and Stephanie is right. We go past that, right? We are looking at processes and principles. Nobody is right or wrong. Process is king. We are here to produce products for the company, for the employee, for the customer, so we can all eat and pay rent. The Tao of continuous process improvement. I already said the processes determine the fate of a company. Faulty products undermine the company. This is so basic. I feel like I'm wasting your time. Late delivery turns away customers. They're going to get fed up with you, especially if somebody else can do it faster, better, and cheaper. We all know this. So certain steps have to happen between input and output, right? So this is the universal law. Regardless what you are doing, from input to output, something has to take place. So our goal as process ninjas, as process experts in training, is that we want to find the minimal steps, the least number of steps to go from input to output, where each step adds significant value. There are no NVAs, no non-value added activities. Of course, you don't want to have a step so complex that you will make a mistake every single time. Each step is error-free, and each step has to add significant value. This is the essence of me having gone through quality stuff for years. I came up, my personal take was just this: make sure your processes add significant values, and they are error-free. And these are the same two principles I can use in driving, in talking to my spouse, in thinking thoughts. Some thoughts don't add any value to you, so I stop thinking them. And some thoughts are error-free, and I started to think, oh yeah, is Dennis doing this? Is she saying that because of that? That speculation is all waste, right? It's waste. It doesn't add any value to me. I can now know the truth, and I get all upset. Right? So that's error-prone. That's not error-free. That's bad. So continuous process improvement, basically they use new technology. They call that automation. Everybody knows this. And they're inside somebody who's been doing something for a long time. Michael Dell, when he first came up with assembling PCs, I think his engineers went from 6 or 8 screws for the hard drive to 3. So that means they have less parts to carry, less inventory on hand, less things to work on, less number of opportunities to make mistakes, and less cost. And look at Dell. Dell is extremely successful. Of course, Michael Dell, he's a very special man, because I heard that when he was in high school, I read that he sold enough newspapers to buy himself a Beamer when he was, 17. So these are extraordinarily powerful entrepreneurs, but they basically they have insights, and they have skills and process skills, and they understand how to simplify things. So here is a live link. What I'm going to do is I will put this video on YouTube, and I will put the link to these slides in the description section of the YouTube, in case anybody is interested to study. In my opinion, the stuff that I'm putting here are kind of, very dense, packed together stuff from 30 some years of working in corporate America. Quality processes, right? So fairly simple, create as is process. And this creation, as I suggested previously, is not done by a team of people who are going to draw process flows or bubble charts or flow diagrams or cross-functional swim lanes. Not like that. It is basically a set of skills we'll give to everybody who is involved in the production process or even who is not involved in the production process. In Citigroup, John Reed, for 320,000 people, he pretty much gave the training to every single person. Of course, 2 days, it's a big investment. Everybody went through it. Doesn't matter, doesn't matter what you did. Everybody in the company went through the class, so everybody knew what it was, and that definitely showed the importance and understanding, and helps to increase the desire and commitment of the troops to follow through when you see the CEO coming out in such a strong and clear way. And Jack Welch did the same thing in GE. So the key I made the process owner red is that process owners, they create processes, they create the process maps. In the meantime, they acquire the knowledge and the process skills, understand the quality principles, and most importantly, their personal ownership of what they do. Each person who does the work must become responsible for the quality of their processes to make sure they don't create and they do not allow error-prone processes which are inefficient, filled with NVAs, non-value added activities. So that's the essence. And there's oftentimes a misunderstanding. What's process improvement? It's a bunch of binders with templates. It's a lot of cross-functional swim lanes. It's flow diagrams, process flows. So they kind of people get confused. Like many PMOs, they have a lot of artifacts, a lot of templates, a lot of deliverables, and it looks like the company is in business to create project management documentation, which is all overhead. None of it is shipped. None of it is actually involved in the production process. It's overhead, and those PMOs tend to fail, and those PMOs tend to get disbanded, as we have seen in Toyota, in various different places. They centralized, decentralized, Amgen, Molina, the IT PMO went under the business PMO. They are continually being merged, and for these reasons, all participants review functional processes offline and provide comments to the process owner at least 1 day before the process review. So this is how we did it at one company. Doesn't mean it's right, but we are looking at industry best practice, what makes the most sense. Each process owner walks through their processes during the meetings and takes comments. And the point is, nobody else should come and tell somebody else, somebody just change your process to do this. Management needs to understand it's not about controlling, it's not about command and control. It's about coming up with the process that's most error-free and add the most value in each step. And that is objective. Doesn't matter who it is. It can be somebody that you love, can be somebody that you rather not work with. That's immaterial. The material thing is the company has to produce good products so people will get paid and customers will be happy and keep on coming back. Because Dr. Deming said the cost of bad quality is unfathomable, uncountable. People vote with their feet. They just walk somewhere else. The as-is process is complete when the team agrees the process is complete. So we have functional processes and then we have cross-functional. So here we are looking at the functional process first to create the as-is process. And then, okay, fine. There's a way to test if people really understand the processes. To be processes, they look at the as-is process, then they review and they remove all the steps which are error-prone and which are NVAs, non-value added activities, or they can combine multiple steps to make it cheaper, faster, like Michael Dell did with a number of screws on the hard drive. Then in the Navy, they came up with a term called failure mode effect analysis. Basically, it's saying, look at all the steps that you are doing, and look at, for each step, what can go wrong, and then building some prevention to make sure the process is error-free, so it cannot go wrong. And if you look at McDonald's, how they have designed a production process from the time you drive up in the drive-thru, you order, by the time you go to the window, the food is ready to go. So they have timed the how long the fries will be, in what temperature, oil for how long, and how they push a button for a drink or for a shake, the right amount of fluid comes out. So everything is engineered very precisely in such a way that pretty much they can take anybody off the street with minimal training and be able to operate and work successfully in that environment. So they have eliminated most of the opportunities for human errors, right? So that is an example of FMEA. Defect-driven process improvement. While something is wrong, let's look at what's wrong and try to fix that. That can be a problem because I have seen CTOs in some cable TV company. They spend the whole day looking at bugs. So everybody's just looking at bugs and trying to fix just the bugs, but that's really not end-to-end cross-functional process improvement to reduce cycle time and to reduce defect rate. That's firefighting to some extent. Monthly milestones for process revisions from gleaned insights. So depending on how advanced the company is in process improvement, we want to reduce the number of defects by tenfold or by 5%, 10%, and then we can calculate the number of errors are actually going down over time. But that's secondary, right? In my opinion, just let's stop walking on ice barefoot, and then from that we can put on nice shoes, nice boots, then we can put on ice skates. So here is a painting that my friend Joe Bloomer, as you can see, his name is here. 1998, he painted this. This is when I was doing quality within Citigroup. So here are the roots. The roots, you can take your time to read this on your own if you like. Here is the root. The trunk is the root. And here are the fruits, right? And I talked about what are the fruits. The fruits are not binders, are not flowcharts, are not somebody else doing somebody else's process engineering. Those are not. The fruits are, and this is a common misunderstanding. You'll be surprised. I've done this in a handful of companies, and people often have a misunderstanding about what we are going after. What's the fruit of process improvement? The fruit for process improvement is basically looking for skills in the people who are doing the production work. Okay, that's what the fruit is. So the question is, can a very highly skilled person independently make a big difference in a company, in a cross-functional environment? Can an apple exist by itself? Can you be a process ninja in an environment where there are no processes, and would that be effective is the question. And the answer is no. You need end-to-end alignment and connectivity to generate the correct results, right? Because engineering and purchasing and shipping and receiving and manufacturing and testing and legal, they all have to line up in order for you to ship the product quickly. So one person, you can go and hire somebody who is a massive black belt in Six Sigma. That's not really going to do much. And actually it could hurt because they may come in with some very sophisticated, fancy CMM level 5, CMMI level 5 type skills, capability maturity model level 5 skills, and ITIL level 4, level 3, whatever. It doesn't really help. We have to start where we are and doing the basics. Phase approach is agile. You can research that on your own. By the way, you can call my number anytime to chit chat about this, 310-902-3389. Okay, so the caveats. The goal is not to create process maps. It is to gain profit through efficiency, right? Going back to the free money from free process ninja skills, which is greater than money because it puts your company in a better place with very little investment, just paying some attention, like putting on shoes before you walk on ice. We're not asking for anything fancy here. The goal is for SMEs to internalize process skills. This is the single most important thing because anybody on the production line can destroy the quality, can accept and create mistakes in the process. And the idea is to train the SMEs so they don't do it, they don't allow it to happen. And in the Japanese Toyota production system, TPS, it's called the andon line. I think ANDON. If a part got to them and something was wrong, they stand up, they pull the rope. Once the rope is pulled, the entire production line stops. And everybody goes over there and looks at what happened, and they try to find the root cause before they continue. They do not tolerate. And in some future slides, we may or may not get to it. We got 50 some slides in this deck here. Maybe towards the end, we'll just go through them very quickly. There's a slide on Six Sigma, Three Sigma. Basically, Six Sigma is like quality A companies. Three Sigma, you can think of it as quality C company. Quality A company, when they ship, for example, like UPS, 1 million packages, for example, they will lose 3 packages out of 1 million. So there's 3 defects per million opportunity. Okay? DPMO, defects per million opportunity, DPMO. And those kind of high quality has to be from error-free processes and from people who are on the production line, whether it's software development or medical, surgical operations or taking x-rays, same concepts apply. Process rests on people, right? So people talk about, let's do cross-functional process improvement. And I did that in one company in Cerritos. And after a while, I was surprised how come it was not going well. People were sitting 30 feet from each other. One person was creating a record in the database for the service rep to go out and make changes to the systems. And these other people, the DBA people or the production coordinators, were deleting the records on the other side, 30 feet away. And I said, wow, this is amazing. Just get up, walk over and talk to them. But they were in some kind of a turf war. One senior director was trying to take over the other department, and browbeating was going on. So anyways, trust is very important, right? Cross-functional cooperation precedes cross-functional process improvement. Each SME can propose changing process after side effects are analyzed and reviewed by the team. Basically, it's a democratic process. It's not about giving up control, but it's about focusing on the process. Doesn't mean I'm better than you are. I've been here longer than you have. I've studied more stuff than you have. If you have a better idea to improve the process and we can see it, we will adopt it, because the common goal is a faster production process, which is cheaper and more profit for the company. The quality leader, basically the improvement has to come from the leadership. If you want to turn a horse, you turn the head of the horse, right? And the body will follow. And if you lead the horse by the tail, it doesn't work, doesn't go where you want it to go. You probably get kicked, it doesn't smell good, and you don't have the results that you want. And that's because the chain of command has not come into bear. If I want to move my left foot, but my foot doesn't move, that's because either something's wrong with my brain, with my eyes, the central processing unit is not working, or something's wrong with my spinal cord, so the structure doesn't work. So the structure, the chain of command, the alignment, the brain, the CPU, the leadership all have to buy into this to raise the common awareness and to give common importance to it, going back to the org chart, the vertical alignment and the horizontal alignment. And as Maestro said, he is saying it in his work, in his projects in the past years. Okay. Can leaders guarantee the success of process improvement? The answer is no, they cannot guarantee it, but they can cause it to fail by not giving it the proper support. Of course, everybody can be leaders, and the goal for the Art of Execution framework, in which the Process Ninja is one pillar, which is what we are talking about right now, is that, yes, you may not be able to drive the bus and be the leader in the situation, official leader in this case, but at least you understand it, and you know what the problem is. And if you speak up, you will get fired, then don't speak up. Do whatever you need to do. Maybe you are trying to raise a kid, maybe you are trying to pay your mortgage, maybe you're trying to go to school. That's okay. Not everybody at all times should be out there trying to bring quality to bear. There should always be people who are ready to do it, but you may not be in that situation, and that's perfectly fine, in my opinion. Okay, so let's come back to process improvements, right? So there's no such thing as a process. People are taking one action after the other, and there's no such thing as process improvement. These are all concepts, right? So when you look into IBM or Microsoft, You see a bunch of people, or Yahoo, people just working there, Facebook, and they happen to belong to the same company, and but you don't see processes there, right? Just people work. So process improvement is really improved people who are process savvy, who understand the upstream impact implications, who understand the downstream impact and implications of what they do and what they don't do. So that's what we are going after here. So it's the intangible. So we cannot brutalize people. We cannot go in and try to dominate people and browbeat them and drive them out and beat them into submission, turn them into zombies, and discipline them by giving them some kind of a, I don't know, probation and no bonus and whatever to try to control. Those kind of things would destroy the initiative very quickly. And we, in management, we've known this for a long time. There's a thing called malicious compliance. They say, okay, I will do what you say, even though they know it's going to fail. And then there are people who sabotage at the leadership level, at the management level, at the workers level. Those aberrations happen. So we need to treat people fairly. Human beings will react in different ways when they cannot directly communicate openly. We know that. The point is for each person to take the best action now. Things change, situation change, the weather changes, things is too hot, things are getting spoiled, things are getting melted. So the people should be able to understand that and to correct it on the spot, right? That's why in Ritz-Carlton they authorized everybody at one point in housekeeping to spend, I think, up to $2,000 on the spot to correct a customer's problem. A house divided cannot stand. So this is the next set of slides now. So what we have finished, the first section was the justification, talking to leadership, talking to management about this is not a multi-million-dollar, multi-year investment. It's actually cheap. Actually, it's free. If the logic share so far makes sense, then we probably should continue. Then we went into what is process improvement, how do we do process improvement, what are the basic steps. So that's fundamental. So you can take one or two slides, put them into your own words. If you don't have time, just take the slides as they are and do whatever you want to do. All right, so here on this cartoon, the comic strip, it looks ridiculous. You can read it on your own. But I actually have seen places and peoples and teams where things were so out of whack, people actually forgot why they were there. No offense, I'm not here to pass judgment, right? Because I too make mistakes every day. What I'm trying to say is sometimes we just forget. We think we go to work to have fun. We think we can get away without accountability, without quality, without performance, but that cannot last. That cannot last. It cannot stand. And then we begin to compete with one another when we shouldn't really be doing that. Why? Because in a cross-functional environment, people's work are interdependent. Engineering depends on purchasing, depends on vendor management, and shipping and manufacturing depend on engineering. But rather than cooperating, they begin to fight. So they have an interdependent nature in their work, but they act independently and they act non-cooperatively, and that destroys the quality, right? So in some cases where their work are really, really completely independent, you have two teams of people. One is building a school for LAUSD in Cyprus, and the other one is building a high-rise in Myrtle Beach. All right, then it's fine. Then maybe those two teams can compete because they are completely independent and so on. And then fine, then you can do that if they are both construction teams in the same company. But otherwise, a house divided cannot stand. Same thing applies to husbands and wives, right? In a family, same idea. All right. So quality leaders that ensure collaboration and synergy, they understand it. Dr. Deming says these leaders are transformed. They have the duality skills. They have the cohesive skills. They are not quick to the punch. They are not quick to react. They understand the truth. Look for the truth, and the truth will set you free. They understand what it really takes to produce quality. It's not about. It's good to have teamwork. It's good to gang up. It's good to have people who are loyal to you. I honestly admire all of that, but that should not get in the way of error-free processes, which is the number one thing. Otherwise, we are robbing each other, one another, and customers, and shareholders' investment and trust in us, right? And I don't mean to be righteous here, right? I'm just sharing what I have seen and what I have learned, which is not too much. Okay. The person who figures out how to tap into the collective genius of everybody in the organization will blow away the competition. That's in one of the slides afterwards. So individual performance to acquire team worker and organization skills. So they need to have cohesive skills, duality skills, and leader's edge skills. It's very important. We're not trying to say everybody should know the company like the C-suite. No, not like that. But some basic understanding of the basic principles, which is what the Art of Execution framework has provided for free to anybody who wants to invest the time to engage in that course of study. It's dense. It probably would take maybe focus time 1 month, maybe 40, 50 hours to study it. And I'm always available for Q&A. Quality techniques and expertise are the tip of the iceberg. Quality leadership are base of the iceberg. Anybody can be taught to draw a cross-functional process flow. Anybody can be taught to draw bubbles and to use Visio to draw diagrams. Anybody can do that. Okay? So the trick is, how do you work with people so you end up with transformed people who are highly skilled or minimally skilled or basically skilled in quality process design and revisions. The quality effort will fail unless the quality leadership is firmly established. This is a law, right? They have companies. There's a book called A Great Place to Work, and the author also participates in the greatest companies to work for in America, whatever. And they said in some cases everything is the same, but the management is insincere, is manipulating, and people suspect that. The same exact measures failed in one company, whereas it succeeded in the other company because people were suspicious that the management was up to something else, whatever. All right. Continuous process improvement needs empowerment in addition to process skills, right? People need to be given the power to own their processes so they have a chance to take pride, to make corrections, to really. Southwest Airlines, the CEO, Herb Kelleher, he came up with the idea. Somebody in his company came up with a meticulous idea, and he asked them to run with it, and they did. And the company had to increase the number of seats in the cabin, and some people said it couldn't be done. A bunch of employees went off on their own, voluntarily came back with a design that actually made a lot more money for the company, right? So these people were very much empowered. They have a sense of freedom, and they love the company. And Herb Kelleher says, love works better than fear in leading a company. So maybe it's not for everybody, but if you look at Costco, look at Trader Joe's, look at Starbucks, these are all leaders who have really done incredible things. Starbucks is offering part-time people insurance. All right, so respect, holding each other accountable clearly and kindly, and you can read this on your own about 14 points, Dr. Deming, and the 14 points. Remove barriers, institute training, cease dependence on mass inspection. Quality is built in, not inspected in. Do it right the first time. Don't spend all your time trying to correct it. In some cases, I know there are companies with 20 or 40 programmers, but with 80 quality assurance people. That's fine. They have their infinite wisdoms, which in some cases I don't understand. I've been in IT for 35 years, got 2 degrees in computer science, and I did mainframe banking, home banking, ATM banking. I don't claim that I know everything about software development, but some of these things seem very strange to me. Remember, an atmosphere of fear results in management getting a filtered view of the organization. Anytime there's fear, you want to get to the truth, right? So organization structure and processes, intra cross-functional cooperation. Dr. Deming he went to Japan, I think 1945. Today, the highest quality award in Japan is called the Deming Award. He went there in 1945. He put this diagram on the board, 1945. And he's the forefather of total quality management. Go to YouTube and look at the 14 points, Deming's 14 points and 5 deadly diseases of corporate America. And here he wrote the book Out of Crisis. I think the book is, I don't know, 50 years old. Crisis is because of the global competition from Germany and Japan. Post-war, we had no competition around the globe, but then the competition came, and then we were in a crisis. Then he wrote this book, and this diagram basically is what he drew in Japan on the whiteboard. ABCD input, receipt and test of material, production assembly, inspection, test of processes, machine methods and costs, distribution goes to the customer, customer research comes back, design, redesign, supplier material. So it's a continuous process improvement cycle. Everybody knows, but somehow not executed properly. So fairly common. What they do is they move boxes, right? They change boxes and reorg. That happens. When I was in Citigroup in 28 years, I must have seen, I don't know, 15, 20 reorgs. I must have seen 20 layoffs, and I've seen all kinds of situations which were very bizarre and some were very, strange at best. So no matter how you reorg, no matter where you put the boxes, if the underlying processes are broken, you are not gonna go anywhere. If you are barefoot, you're walking on ice. You can change your hat, you can change your glasses, you can change your shirt, you can walk on ice in Siberia, in Korea, in Vietnam. And there's probably no ice in Vietnam, meaning on the flat ground. The weather is not cold enough for there to be ice. So the point is, process problems are not resolved through reorgs, except the 14th point, Dr. Deming's 14 points. The 14th point says, you want to create a structure in top management that will push every day on the preceding 13 points and take action in order to. So if you look at Paul O'Neill of Alcoa, Aluminum Company of America, I think he was there for, I don't know, 4 years or 10 years. He quadrupled the size of the company. He quadrupled the profit. He took a sleepy company and he made it successful. And then he went into healthcare and he failed. He was actually the secretary of the Treasury Department, I believe. Then he went into Alcoa. He had astounding success. And his keystone principle was he wanted to reduce the number of days taken off due to injuries on the job. And it's an incredible story. You should watch the YouTubes on that and the Harvard Business Review write-ups on him. It's extraordinary. I mean, he's like Dr. Deming embodied. But when he got to healthcare, he failed, which was very intriguing to me. But after being in healthcare for the last 3 years, I can begin to understand it. McDonald's, Hamburger University, institutionalized training, error-free processes, standardization, scaling from domestic, from state to national to international. Scaling requires error-free processes and training. Steve Jobs, he came back to revive Apple, Howard Schultz. So how come? How come some people can do it, how sometimes some people cannot? Of course, they are geniuses, they are brilliant, they know the business very well. However that is, it has to manifest in some process, has to manifest in something they do. Of course, if somebody is innovative and they are geniuses, we cannot really copy that, but otherwise we can look at processes. So some final words from Deming, Dr. Deming. Quality is made in the boardroom. Limitation on quality is made in the boardroom. A company can do well with poor management for a while. Survival is not compulsory. Bad quality in the family, bad processes. People are not cooking for the kids are not being taken care of, they're not going to school, they are not being groomed, they don't have the right skills, they probably get into trouble. The family is going to perish. And of course, survival is optional, right? Okay, some key principles here. I'm running out of time. Common cause versus special cause. So Stephanie is in the freeway here, and we say she is a bad driver. No, it's not about Stephanie or Paul or John, because all the drivers are in a system, in the freeway system, and they only control their own driving. If somebody is drunk, yeah, that's a special cause who is causing a backlog, traffic jams. But in this case, it's a common cause, and the common cause can be solved not by the 5 drivers, by the people who own this freeway system. If it's an interstate freeway, I guess the federal government gets involved. If it's a state highway, then the state government gets involved. So what's the point? It's not trying to point the finger, but to try just make a clear distinction where the problem lies. Oh, people are just lazy. People are going home early. People are not um, dedicated enough. They are not educated long enough. They are not sophisticated, and they are whatever retired on the job. You can say whatever you want to say. The bottom line is, no one functional manager, no matter how high you are, can impact the end-to-end cross-functional effort. And the culture is going to dominate. The context is decisive. You can have a super master black belt and put that person in a process disintegrated environment where people are process agnostic, and the culture and the work processes and compensation systems and performance appraisal systems, training systems, onboarding systems, recruiting systems, and organizational structure support that kind of dysfunctional culture, nobody can make a difference single-handedly. That's not to say we don't take responsibility, we don't commit to excellence. Yes, we do, but we cannot cut across functions and make that level of impact, because in order to bring that kind of common awareness and common importance and common priority to doing things a certain way, as I said at the get-go, look at the structure chart and see how the baby falls through the grid. Does that make sense, Maestro?
Yes, very much.
Thank you. So how healthy are most of your projects? Again, we are trying to hit the common cause versus special cause. If all of your chocolates come out melting, it's maybe not Paula or Jerry's fault, right? Maybe something is going on with the machine, or maybe the chocolate is just too soft. There's something going on that's to do with the system. So quick review. We talk about, so they are called, usually in major corporations, they are coordinators for nominated for each functional areas, and then they have an overall coordinators, people such as myself. I've done this in numerous companies. I work with different coordinators from different teams, and then we go through this process improvement, and you can involve the project management office, why not? Or you can have somebody else do it, whatever. They have SEPG, Software Engineering Process Group, and then they come up with SQI, Software Quality Index. If you go back to the tree with the apples, you can see lots of details. Again, this is meant to be studied after you pause the screen and go through it and understand it and take notes. If you know it already, then fine. But if this is new to you, it will take time to study. Horizontal alignment across engineering, manufacturing, shipping, purchasing, legal, all that, right? We talked about that. Without horizontal alignment, the floor will be crooked, right? And then when the different departments, when they join together, we have to make sure they are connected and there's smoothness as you go through the different gates from manufacturing to engineering. Typically, in the software environment, the requirement can take a long time, the programmers can take a long time, but the deadline hasn't changed. So guess who gets squeezed at the end? The quality assurance, the testers. They get to do 5 months worth of work in 10 days. And that's not smooth, and that's not good connection, right? It's not fair. It's not an honorable thing to do, to dump the responsibility on somebody else just because we don't want to get fired. Of course, nobody wants to get fired, but the leadership needs to understand this, because there's so much fear and people begin to play games. They play chicken. Who's going to blink first? Who's going to say, I can't make the deadline, because they don't want to get shot? Okay, 59 minutes have passed. There's nothing more difficult. So basically, you can read this on your own. The reason change initiatives fail, unlike the building you just saw, when people are building high rises, there's very little chance of failure. Why? Because everything is predictable, it's precise. Steel beams, concrete, and cabling. But here we have variations. We got people who have different dispositions, different emotional intelligence, different boundary skills, different technical skills, different organizational skills, different alignment skills, different process skills, different subject matter skills, different industry level knowledge. They may be in a different level of career development life cycle. Number 6, they are hands-on apprentice, they are hands-on expert, they are group manager, they are organizational leader. They can be new in leading the organization or leading a department, going through a deep learning curve. So all of these things make these things very error prone. So now we kind of out of time. So I'm going to really run through very quickly now. Control, input, add significant value, quick results, piecemeal. quick results is the agile principle, right? You want to deliver the smallest customer visible, customer usable feature as quickly as possible, iteratively. If that didn't make any sense, pause it and listen to it one more time. So you're going from A to B. So process improvement, you are going to be where each practitioner has the above skills. It's really, we're not asking for that much. Really, we're just saying for them to be aware of it. And then, so why do we need them to own their own processes? Because it's impossible for somebody else to do it for them. So it's a sphere, right? It's a three-dimensional, it's a multi-dimensional, it's a sphere. We must have alignment, and I think it should be clear right now. I mean, so this is like a quiz. You tell me, you can study on your own. And this one you should know. I have hit this already. Passionate. So people should be empowered to control their own success, not only functionally, but also cross-functionally. But we need to bring that level of importance and awareness, and you should know why leadership must be involved. I think we talked about the common cause in a number of different ways. So lastly, these are organizational changes. We are human beings. We got problems. We got worries. We're going through things. Some people, kids are going off to college, or some spouse just passed away, whatever the situation is. We need to have some kind of lead time to acclimate to it, 3 to 6 months, talk about it, put it on the company newsletter, put out a 5-minute video, put in a web page. I think everybody knows this. Maybe the timing is just not right, they're not doing it. But in case money, budget and knowledge are kind of stopping the company from doing it, then this is a pretty good organizational transformation strategy. ADKAR, awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. If you Google for it, you will see it. It's a common strategy there. And I took this slide from a different workshop, and so this is something to do with the exercises there. So the following slides, I'm going to go through maybe 2 seconds each one. You can pick and choose some of them for your own use. So here is a funny one. Tell me again what we do. This is about competing with I think I had this slide previously in the deck already. And then screwing up the customer service, just something cute. In some cases, these are so ridiculous, but you'll be surprised how often they actually can happen in some places. It's amazing. I don't understand how new reorganization will help us to focus on. So the point here is, if you have a flat tire, what do? You rotate the tire and you drive home. That's actually cute. But it's really not about that, right? It's really about in company cases where when something is wrong, rather than doing Gemba, they reorg. So this was in one of the slides I used for training in one of the places, and these are pretty good quotes, pretty good saying for process improvement. Process evolve over time. Okay, so I talked about some of this. Y map, it gives you perspective, so you can reduce cycle time and defect rate. And then you can look for problems, issues, and you can use it as a tool to communicate. So you watch the circle here. It's a cue or wait point. It's where you could, I think 80% of most production processes of the time are spent in wait. So if you can find ways to eliminate the wait, it'll be a good thing. Why cross-functional? So you can read this on your own. So when you do the 30-minute training in the company, pick a few of the slides here, if you like. Internal customers, what does the customer require? It's pretty much on time, on quality, basic stuff. It won't break too quickly, as is should be. I talked about these. Internal defects, so whatever mistakes we create within the company for each other, the customer will eventually experience it. Very common sense. The impact of defects, what you get from 3 Sigma suppliers. Let's look at the medical ones. 40,000 newborn babies are dropped in a C quality company. Round drugs prescribed, 54,000 round drugs prescribed. 1,350 incorrect surgical operations per week. All right. And then in a 6 Sigma company, quality A company, 1 round drug prescription in 25 years, 3 newborn babies dropped in 100 years, and one incorrect surgery in 20 years. So obviously there's a big difference here, right? So quality is a big deal. So here it kind of describes continuous process improvement. When you get a chance, take time to look at it slowly, pause it. Cause and effect diagram. Basically, they call this the Ichikawa diagram. You can Google and take a look at it. It's looking for the uh, root causes, and this is very interesting. If you look at it, right, markers don't work. Lack of training, no time for training, no money for training. Department only care about their own processes. Special requests stop regular processes. Too many fires. Poorly designed workflow. Too many handoffs. Too many wait times. Too far from the customer. Department too far apart. Factory too noisy. Workers don't understand policies. So watch this. These are very common problems. Almost everywhere you go, you see similar things. How do you make a cause and effect diagram? It tells you how to do it. And these are the 6 steps to Six Sigma, right? Identify your products and services. So that's pretty much it. So thank you very much, Maestro. Do you have any quick thoughts, any comments before we close for the day?
I do. I just have a comment and a question with what's going on in this time of the recent times. With process being the key, with output being the key in developing processes, where we see our recent great talk about how finding the right person and putting in the right technology, you'll be able to get the process as you go along into a job. But it looks like there's a reverse order. It's not just about getting the right people with the right technologies and the process will flow. You gave an example earlier where McDonald's, actually, the focus is all in the process. So the order switches where it's process first, technology next, and the person be the last, because you can put a low-skilled person to do the job, and they'll do it just as well as a high-skilled person because the process has been kept to an error-free analysis. Do you think that, and then the question would be, do you think that technology and finding the right people do come first in other instances? Is it just because it's McDonald's?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you in that different industries have different sets of requirements and different levels of complexity, and the products and services rendered are very diverse. So in some turnaround situations, you want to put in place. Jack Welch, the ex-CEO of GE, he said, I'm not in the jet engine business, I'm not in the refrigerator business, I'm not in show business, because at one point GE, maybe until today still does, own the Seinfeld show. So he goes, I'm in the people business. So he will fly everywhere and interview for key positions to be filled within GE. He will go with the HR directors because he says, I got to put the right people in the right business so then I can let them run the business. So you definitely want to make sure you bring the people who have and Jack Welch said he expects GE's CEO to be a master black belt in the future. So having the right people absolutely is very important. So the people who design the McDonald's production system, people who actually designed it, those are the experts, those are the masterminds who work this down to a science to be error-free. Then they can hire pretty much anybody without too much training, but that's because they hire the right people to do the engineering, to do the design, to do the continuous process improvement in what they do. Did that make sense, Maestro?
Yes, very much.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to turn off the recording, then we can chat a little bit more.